I gave a perfect score to Nancy Drew Files 24, 27, and 30. That was 10 years ago, so I no longer remember why my picks for the best books are grouped so close together. Maybe I was in a great mood that month. As for the books that got an almost perfect score, there's 20 of them. I can't have 20 of them on this list, so I'll go with the 7 that I remember best. Number 10, Don't Look Twice. I remember the love drama in this book. A cheerleader gets extra flirty with Ned. She kisses him in front of everyone. She arranges for Nancy to be kidnapped as part of a practical joke. But it's not a joke. Things go wrong when the cheerleader's kidnapped in order to get to her wealthy father. It looks like somebody's planning to rob his museum, but the twist is that the culprits are actually smuggling art into the museum. Nancy has a few dumb moments in this book. The big one is right after Nancy sneaks the cheerleader out of the culprit's house. There are guards looking for them, but they just stop and have a lighthearted chat about Ned. Escape from the culprit first, then talk about boys. Number 9, Circle of Evil. This is dumb, but I remember calling this book the dodecahedron of ill intent. I liked that joke so much, I included it in Francie Drew in The Secret of the Shady Midnight Caller. I also remember this book introduces Detective Ryan, who's mentioned in Nancy Drew, Alibi in Ashes. A series of rich people are robbed. Nancy and her friends investigate at a country club, where they're distracted by hot guys and murder attempts. The two big twists are a hidden passageway in the women's locker room and the existence of multiple culprits. Both Nancy and the culprits make some dumb mistakes when trying to capture each other at the end. Number 8, Fatal Attraction. I complained a lot about Brenda Carlton throughout the entire series, so I figured it would be nice to highlight her best book. The book does not take her seriously as Nancy's rival. No, Brenda's the kind of idiot who will slip on a banana peel and throw a temper tantrum. The scenes of her messing up and causing problems in this book are funny. Nancy's hired to investigate Brenda's suspicious new boyfriend. What guy would date her? It turns out he's a career criminal who seduces rich young women so he can blackmail their families. Things heat up when one of his victims is killed. Nancy needs to save Brenda before she gets killed next. Number 7, Designs in Crime. Bess gets a job as a model for a fashion designer who specializes in wedding dresses. He also gets robbed a lot. Somebody steals a billionaire's dress. Nancy figures out how the crime was performed in a pretty awesome scene. She solves the secondary mystery of who is stealing fashion designs, which morphs into the main mystery when that culprit is killed by their co-culprit. Meanwhile, the stolen dress is kind of a red herring as it was taken by one of the victim's relatives who doesn't care about fashion. This book was well written, and it has more plot than normal since there are 3 culprits that mostly operate independently. So it's like 3 books in one. Number 6, The Runaway Bride. Another wedding book, huh? Nancy and George are in Japan for a friend's wedding. Her friend disappears moments before she's about to go down the aisle. It takes about half the book to find her. Nancy's investigation was really awesome. She's in hiding because her fiancé wants to kill her, and it takes the second half of the book to figure out, well, who exactly is trying to kill her and why. The culprit is quite bloodthirsty. They waste no time in hiring a professional assassin who tries to kill Nancy with sushi, shuriken, a traditional festival, and the steam baths that almost killed her in Nancy Drew, Shadow at the Water's Edge. The Japanese setting is well done in this book. There's a lot of love drama with Nancy's kind of fiancé, Mick Devlin. I reluctantly admit that was good. I'm reluctant because I don't like Mick. Number 5, The Suspect Next Door. This book had to be good because it launched a spin-off series called River Heights. The publishers wanted everyone who read this book to say, "Wow, Nikki Masters is so interesting. I would gladly read a 17-book series about her." Nikki Masters is Nancy's next-door neighbor. The clothing store she works at gets robbed repeatedly. She struggles with her violent and creepy ex-boyfriend. When he's murdered in the woods, Nancy needs to clear Nikki's good name. The ending is kind of bizarre. Our heroes trick the culprit into confessing by pretending to murder Ned in public, on his anniversary with Nancy. The mystery is probably the weakest part of the book, but that is understandable because it's setting up for a romance series, not a mystery series. At no point was the book boring. The characters say and do interesting things all the way through, even in fairly standard scenes like Nancy gets information from the police. Number 4, the perfect plot. This is a Nancy Drew Agatha Christie crossover. How could it not be awesome? Sure, they call her Dorothea in this book, but she's clearly Agatha Christie. She's a famous mystery writer who built a huge mystery mansion full of hidden passageways, in death traps like a jail cell, with walls that crush anyone who's inside. One of the people in her publishing group is a secret criminal, and everyone's willing to backstab each other to get their hands on Dorothea's last unpublished manuscript. Naturally, there are fake-out crimes and a murder. The big plot twist is that the manuscript is the key to solving a murder from years ago. The culprit doesn't actually want this rare manuscript for the money. The book has a good setting, a good story, and a decent cast of 8 suspects, and a heavy focus on mystery. Agatha Christie probably would have liked it. Number 3, most likely to die. Nancy attends her high school reunion with 6 other people. The notable one is Dawn Cameron, a filler character who appeared in 1 book in the original series. You can tell the author is a huge Nancy Drew fan when they reference an obscure character like Dawn. Dawn is pretty good in this book. He wants to get back together with Nancy, even though there's no chance that will happen. I hope I didn't give this book a perfect score just because I liked the love drama. To be sure, plenty of books in this series have bad love drama, so I did enjoy books like this and other ones on the list, which do the love drama correctly. Correctly meaning I don't hate Nancy and Ned for being awful. The reunion gets a little violent and murder-tinged. Nancy investigates all 6 characters in turn. Several of them are victimized while Nancy visits with them. It turns out the culprit peaked in high school. They're going after everybody else who is more successful than them. The book has a great attention to detail, especially the small details that become important later on in the book. Number 2, Death by Design. This is the book that inspired the video game Danger by Design. It might even be better than the game, because it's what the game would be if it didn't get distracted by the unrelated World War II scavenger hunt halfway through. Kim Daly is an angry fashion designer. She's so bad she cusses out her assistants and slaps her sister in the face. Kim has received several death threats. Nancy accidentally falls victim to one of the murder attempts, which is a poisoned dress. Nancy's badly poisoned. She will die in a couple of days if she doesn't get the antidote. She occasionally has fainting fits and lightheadedness due to the poison. The poison story was great and dramatic, as was the moment where Ned punches Paul the photographer in the face. Ned is arrested for this, leaving Nancy without help for the rest of the case. There's a second culprit who did the more minor sabotage. Nancy uses fashion to identify the would-be murderer. Only a culprit would wear alligator shoes. Number 1, Till Death Do Us Part. This is by far the most popular book of the series. Outside of the video game books, it's the one that gets talked about the most. That's because this is the book where Ned asks Nancy to marry him. True, I haven't seen much substantial discussion of this book beyond, OMG, Ned just proposed and Nancy turned him down. But that's enough, okay? That's enough to make it a great book. The rest of the book could have been garbage, and people would still love it for the first 2 chapters. The romance drama goes up to 11, when less than an hour later, Ned gets engaged to a new woman named Jessica Thorne. Jessica is clearly an evil scheming culprit who's guilty of, well, ruining Nancy's love life, for one. In private, Ned confesses it's a fake engagement. He wants to know why an obvious criminal's obsessed with marrying him. Knowing it's a fake engagement doesn't stop Nancy from being super jealous of Jessica. You had your chance to marry Ned, and you turned him down, Nancy. You can only blame yourself. Jessica oversees Nancy and Ned kissing each other, so she tries to kill Nancy in a skydiving accident. It turns out Jessica has a rich husband who went missing. She can't inherit his money unless he's dead. He looks a lot like Ned. Jessica wants to kill Ned in a plane crash and pretend the dead body is her husband's. That's why she's obsessed with marrying Ned. The wedding ring must be on his finger so the police can identify his corpse. Admittedly, that's a lot of trouble to go through just to get a ring on Ned's finger. She could have come up with an easier plan, but then we wouldn't have gotten all that awesome love drama. Those are my picks for the 10 best books of the Nancy Drew Files series. Feel free to leave a comment if there are books you think are better than these ones. And don't forget to check out my video for the 10 worst books of the Nancy Drew Files series. Lots of those books have terrible love drama, and you can hear me complain about that in the video.